Hi friends, I'm Meg Tucker and we are in the Cook with Meg kitchen with our dear friends at the Egg Farmers of New Brunswick. Today we are embarking on a journey and a trip around the world doing a Taste the World series. Now today we're working on a Finnish Pannukakku, which is a traditional Finnish oven-baked pancake. Think of this as kind of a merge between a Dutch baby and a flan and a crêpe, and we're putting it all together. It's custardy, it's creamy, it's caramelized. It's so delicious, and it starts by taking a 9x13 pan and placing 6 tablespoons of butter and literally putting this in the oven for the butter to melt. It's the coolest recipe. I know you're going to love it. My oven right now is preheating to 350 degrees. There's my 6 tablespoons of butter. I'm gonna put this in the oven and I will be right back and we will make up the batter. Meet you back here in just a sec. We are back. This is the coolest recipe ever, and we've been making this in the Cook with Meg kitchen, but more specifically in our family now for a number of years. We love it so much. I live in Alberta, but I am a New Brunswicker and we love our eggs. And that's what starts in, believe it or not even a bowl, just a 4-cup measuring cup is plenty of room. So we're starting with 4 eggs, and for that, we need to crack those babes. We're gonna get them down into a 4-cup measure. Cracking eggs, maybe you're fancy, maybe you do it one-handed, maybe you crack on the counter, and maybe you crack on a flat surface. I like to crack my eggs on a flat surface, and I like to have a cloth nearby because sometimes you do get a little bit of the egg white on your countertop, which is totally fine. What you're gonna see me using though for this recipe is an electric mixer. So I've got my 4 eggs, and I just wanna take a moment and I wanna get those nice and whisked. And the reason I'm using an electric mixer for today's recipe is because we're gonna be adding a little bit of flour, some sugar, some vanilla, and then 2 cups of milk. And we wanna really blend that beautifully together. And I feel like when you get to use an electric mixer, you know that you're getting like a really consistent, quick, and thorough mix. So I'm just gonna put this over here for now. And then I've got my whipped 4 eggs. To that, I am going to be adding in my other ingredients, which we will walk through. But let's talk briefly about what's happening in the oven. So we're using a 9x13 baking dish that we didn't grease, but we are greasing it because we put 6 big tablespoons of butter. Mine is salted. And that butter is having the opportunity to melt while the oven's coming up to temperature. So it's a recipe where you kind of have to work a little quickly because you don't want the butter to burn, but you want it to be fully melted and you want that pan to be nice and hot. So to my 4 eggs, we are gonna go ahead and we are going to add 3/4 cup of granulated white sugar. We're going to add 1 cup of flour, all-purpose flour. We're going to add a tablespoon of vanilla. I've got my Barber's vanilla that we love. And I usually give this portion a mix with the mixer, then I transfer it to a bowl because we need to add in 2 cups of cream, or milk rather. Milk, I used milk and cream. You can use a little bit of both. But I kind of like to start it here and then I transfer it to a big bowl. I just find it mixes really well in a 4-cup because you can really get that first little bit all mixed together, and essentially it's almost like a cake batter, but then we're gonna thin it out with some milk. So So let's grab a nice big bowl, and then we're gonna combine everything with a pinch of salt and get it into the oven. I'll meet you back here with a bowl. I'm back with a bowl. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna pour in that thick, sticky batter. So let's recap what's in here. We have 4 eggs. We have 3/4 of a cup of granulated white sugar, only 1 cup of flour, and we also added a tablespoon of vanilla. And I'm gonna turn on my mixer and I'm gonna dribble in 2 cups of milk. Now, I used 2%. You could also use whole milk. You could use evaporated milk. You could even use a little bit of whipping cream if you wanted to be a little decadent. So let's just take a moment. This is going to be very, very, very thin, it's almost like a crêpe batter. There's my oven telling me it's ready, and I have been keeping a very close eye on the butter. Depending on how long it takes for your oven to preheat to 350, you do want to keep your eye on it. And if you feel like your oven preheats really, really quickly, pinch of salt, you may want to get it to 350, then pop your pan in, wait till the butter is bubbling and foamy, and then immediately take it out and add the batter. So we're gonna do that part together, but right now, let's just mix up this batter. So again, we've got 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 3/4 cup granulated white sugar, 4 eggs, 2 cups of milk, a tablespoon of vanilla, and a pinch of salt. And that is literally all you need. You can put this in a blender. Boom, whiz it up in a blender, totally works. You can even do it by hand with your muscles. I just like the fact that an electric mixer really gets a nice whip and it aerates everything like big time bubbles, and that's kind of what we want. It doesn't need more mixing than that. Let's put our vanilla behind us. I always put everything behind once I know I've used it. We're in a clean as we go mode at Cook with Meg. If anything splashed, you can get that kind of out of the way. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a hot mat. I never know what to call it, a silicone mat. There we go. I'm gonna put it here, and then I'm going to grab my baking dish out of the oven with the sizzling hot butter, and then directly pouring this into the hot butter, and it goes back into the oven. So I'm gonna go grab it. The next thing you're gonna see, like magic, is a sizzling hot pan of butter. Be right back. Okay, can you see that butter is hot and swirling around and slightly browned? Now very carefully, sometimes it sizzles, sometimes the butter kind of just pools around the edges. We're gonna pour all of that batter in. So the difference between a pannukakku and an actual Dutch baby is that we're not flipping anything, or a traditional pancake rather, we're not flipping it, it's baking in that baking dish. So just as quickly as you get it into the pan, it needs to go into the oven. So here we go. We're gonna do this very carefully. This needs to bake about 35 to 40 minutes. I'll meet you back here when it's puffed up and glorious. See you soon. All right, we've got about 10 minutes to go, but let's take a little peek. Whoa. Look at that puff. Okay, keep it baking. We are almost there. Look at that. So here it is. It's had a chance to slightly deflate, but it's still extremely hot. I don't recommend cutting into it quite yet because this is a baking dish and we don't want to cut the dish, but you know me, and I'm always going to at least try to cut a tiny little corner. It's really, really hot. Let me grab a plate. I'm back with a little plate. Now, normally you would cut it properly, but I wanted to just sort of show you the consistency. So can you see the sides are like super puffy? That middle section is very custardy. It's gonna be way, way too hot to eat, but when has that stopped me in the past? This is the Finnish Pannukakku, a traditional Finnish oven pancake. 4 eggs, 1 cup of flour, 3/4 cup of sugar, 2 cups of milk, tablespoon of vanilla, pinch of salt. Cheers. It's literal perfection. What you can't see, I'll try to bring you as close as possible, is all of that butter kind of pools on top. Can you see right there? All those little gritty bits, that's actually the little bits of butter and the sugar that kind of caramelize near the top. This really is a spectacular recipe. It's as though we've merged a pancake with a crêpe, with a Dutch baby, and it is perfection. I don't think it needs syrup. I like to eat mine without. You definitely could add syrup. You can add fresh fruit. You can add whipped cream. It's just so next level. There you have it. That's gonna wrap it up for us. One more Cook with Meg recipe in the archives. We hope that you had fun today taking this taste around the world with us. We will be back with lots more videos. And if you haven't checked out the videos prior to this, there are lots. So grab those recipes, which you saw me following along with. Clean those kitchens. We clean as we go. Remember, until next time, we are awesome. Thanks so much, everyone. I'm getting back to my pancake. Have a great day. Bye, guys.